I had a dream in a perfect world, and he was there in a much better show. And so there were many VIPs. I think I was an important one, but all of them speak another tongue. I couldn't understand any single word. I think I was an important woman. I couldn't understand nothing at all. I want to know, I want to learn, because I think I was the star, that different song, that special one, that everyone has thought about me. I'm gonna know and understand, because I think I was the star. I will explain my perfect dream, speaking this special tongue, amazing English.
Con ustedes, Jeff González. Bienvenidos a esta nueva emisión de A Much Better Show. Yo soy Jeff González y me acompaña la guapa Miranda Wise, mi amigo Rudy Arroyo y la incomparable Vilma Brown. Hoy entrevistaremos a un genio y precursor de la ciencia. Tendremos la música de nuestra gran banda, los mismísimos indeseables inquilinos y mucho, mucho más. Quédense con nosotros.
Amazing.
Tendremos las mejores recomendaciones, tips de viajes y de ecología, el humor de nuestros sketches, todo esto en A Much Better Show.
Amazing English.
These are our eco-friendly tips. Together we can save planet Earth. Save energy at work. Switch off your PC's monitor while attending meetings. Don't leave the computer on standby after work. Better to turn it off. Same at home. If you are not watching television, don't keep it as background music. Just switch it off. Stay tuned to A Much Better Show and wait for more eco-friendly tips. Entrevistas del más allá.
Hoy tenemos en nuestro estudio un personaje que en vida provocó fascinación y controversia, y que continúa despertando la imaginación de los científicos e ingenieros en el mundo entero. En su época lo tildaban de mercachifle, de excéntrico, de científico loco. Y algo tenían de razón. Lo que nunca pudieron negar fue su genialidad. Con ustedes, el inventor Nikola Tesla. May I ask, Mr. Tesla, what new experiment are you working on? Mr. Tesla? Mr. Tesla? Sir, we are actually on the air with live audience.
Oh, all right. Young man, you shouldn't interrupt a scientist while he's working. But very well, you may.
What were you working on?
One of my many experiments on electromagnetism, my favorite subject. As a matter of fact, you could say I developed most of the knowledge you now know as electromagnetism.
Exactly, Mr. Tesla. Now that you've brought it up, I'd like you to elaborate on your discoveries in that field and your contributions to the establishment of disciplines such as robotics, nuclear physics, and computer science.
Computer? What is a computer? Oh, yes, that cute little machine someone invented after my death. I could have done it so much better, frankly.
If you say so. But first of all, Mr. Tesla, talk about your origins. Where were you born? When did you move to America?
Oh, must I? It's such a boring, unimportant story. A trifle. But well, I was born in a village found in the territory of modern-day Croatia. then part of the Austrian Empire. My father was an Orthodox priest. I was a very nervous boy, but very smart indeed. I could memorize complete books thanks to my photographic memory. I think I still can. In my 20s, I started to work as an engineer in Europe, and my talent called the attention of my first employers. I first arrived in New York City when I was about to turn 28, with very little money, certainly, and with a letter of recommendation to Thomas Edison, you know, that so-so inventor.
It must have been a great experience working with such a master.
Not really. I actually was hired by Edison to redesign his clumsy motors and generators. He might have paid me more, but the old man was very cheap. Fortunately, a couple of years later, I became independent and founded my own company, Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing. In those same days, I designed the so-called Tesla coil, which I used to produce low current, high voltage, and high frequency alternating current electricity. In layman's words, this coil was a huge help in my electricity experiments. In my 30s, I began investigating what we would later call X-rays. Among my inventions and discoveries of those years, I could mention the Tesla generator and what was named in my honor, later called the Tesla effect.
You had a historic presentation at the 1893 World Fair in Chicago. Tell us everything about it.
I introduced the visitors, people from all over the world, AC power. It illuminated the whole exhibition.
You surely felt proud of that day, didn't you?
Yes, but I always looked further ahead. My curiosity was unquenchable. In 1899, I was sick of New York and moved to Colorado, where I set my lab in Colorado Springs. I conducted all kinds of experiments there, transmitting wireless signals to Paris, producing artificial lightning using Earth as a conductor, etc. One of my big projects was the Wardenclyffe Tower, one of the earliest telecommunications towers. Unfortunately, it was dismantled for scrap during World War I. I also detected some unusual signs amid storms and earth noise. I think they might be evidence of life in Venus, Mars, and other planets. My big dream was to create a telescope in order to communicate with extraterrestrial nations all across the universe.
People must have thought you were a bit...
Cuckoo? Oh yes, they did. But I couldn't care less. I had other worries. For example, I had a big legal fight with Marconi, who was credited for inventing radio. How dare they? How dare they? Radio had been my idea all along. Some years later, someone wanted to give me the Nobel Prize. But I would have had to share it with Edison. The nerve. Imagine Edison, my big rival, and I sharing a prize. Both of us vowed to never accept the Nobel Prize if the other one won it. Anyway, in the end, none of us got it.
But you might have used the money.
Of course, I might. But I guess my ego was bigger. And I never cared much about money. Anyway, I spent it all. And by 1916, I had to declare myself bankrupt. I was getting old. And certainly, I wasn't getting saner. I always suffered from weird compulsions, eccentricities, and obsessions. I was very into cleanliness. I loved animals too, especially pigeons, my favorite pets.
Any love in your life?
Not at all. I mean, I was courteous to the ladies and all, but I considered any love issues a distraction, negatively affecting work. Celibacy is the perfect state for concentration and success. You should try that, young man.
Yeah, right. But now, Mr. Tesla, some final comments. Which were your unconcluded projects? Something you always wanted to do and never had the chance to?
Oh, there are countless of them. One of them was a super teleforce weapon known as the Death Ray. Other was my beloved Tesla flying machine, which would have been an aircraft completely run from the ground. So many dreams. My disease in 1941 finished with them all. But apparently, I grew even more popular after that. My work has inspired lots of science fiction stories, and I myself have appeared in a number of comic books, plays, and movies. I was even played by this Englishman, the rock star. What's his name?
David Bowie.
David Bowie. Exactly. In that film about magic. Oh, hold on. Oh, goodness. I have lost track of time completely. Young man, I have a magic potion with Mark Twain. He's my best friend. We have a date to play chess together. Gotta go. Bye-bye. My pleasure.
Ever the eccentric, absent-minded scientist Nikola Tesla has just left the studios to meet Mark Twain, the writer, somewhere in the afterworld. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Tesla, one of the most legendary scientists, a consummate genius. Stay tuned to a much better show. Today, my daughter has come of age, and it shall be decided who she will marry. Let the suitors in.
Ma'am?
These three young men are the neighboring kingdom's most eligible bachelors. Speak out! Each of you has to convince me why he considers himself to be the best option for my child.
I'm the best option by far. I believe in all traditions. Husbands have to be very strict with their wives. Modern women are much too free-spirited and irreverent. Give me your daughter, and she'll be the best-behaved housewife. A model of her sex. I believe I can do it. There should be no problem.
Allah have mercy, too bossy.
All right, next suitor.
That man makes me laugh. I definitely should be your daughter's husband. I mean, I am the most handsome guy in the Middle East. I could have any girl I want. Choose me, and our children will be cuter than Brad and Angelina's.
Such a metrosexual, vain and full of himself.
Okay. We got it. Next suitor.
Hello, peace, man. You have to choose me, man. I'm a hippie. I love flowers and lava lamps. With me as a royal son-in-law, the kingdom would be the coolest, most relaxed place on earth. Oh, God, what's that awful smell? Oh, it must be him. I bet he hasn't taken a shower in 3 weeks.
Okay, the time has come. I must make my choice.
Oh, no, Father dear. I beg you. to get married.
You do, my child. But it is a difficult choice. Very well. Then listen to me, the three of you. Since it is such a hard decision to make, and you are all perfectly worthy, I have determined that you must venture into the world for 1 day. And after that day, whoever returns with the most extraordinary, impressive present for my little girl will win her hand in marriage.
Oh, thanks a lot. Probably 1 more year of partying.
And so, the bossy Sutter, the vain Sutter, and the smelly Sutter set out together, until they came to a well before a fork where the road branched in 3 separate paths.
We should part here. Before we go back to the palace, let's meet here and compare the prices we found. Right?
I only hope all the pretty girls I find in my way don't keep me from returning. See you guys.
See ya.
The 3 young men parted, and met again in the well 1 year later.
How's it going, you weaklings? Did you find anything at all? Because I found this extraordinary magic crystal ball that shows you anything you'd like to see in the entire world. What did you get, lover boy?
I found this wondrous flying carpet that can transport you anywhere you want in a matter of minutes. What about you, our hippie friend?
Hey, dudes, I found this groovy magic potion that can cure any illness. And when there is true love, some say it might even restore youth. Cool.
Well, isn't that something? I suggest, my friends, that we use the best present, that's mine, to check how our girlfriend is doing. Come on.
Oh, father dear. I think this is even worse than influenza. If we don't get it, I might die.
Oh, daughter, to die so young and unmarried. Not even the kingdom's best doctors have been able to cure you.
This is terrible! Our girlfriend!
We must save her!
Yes. Oh, you have to join forces. We can cure her with your potion.
Oh, sure, dude.
But we'll never get to the palace on time. Unless we use my magic carpet.
Off we go then. Come on. Yeehaw!
Will the suitors get in time to save the prince's life? Stay tuned for the second and final chapter of this story in a much better show.
Hola otra vez, soy Jeff González y esto es Flash Informativo. Hoy conoceremos el grupo especial de verbos modales que apoyan a un verbo principal. Los usamos para expresar obligación, habilidad, consejos, opiniones, prohibiciones y demás. Estos verbos son can, I think, I still can,
This groovy magic potion that can cure any illness.
could. You could say I developed most of the knowledge you now know as electromagnetism.
I could have any girl I want.
Should. You should try that, young man.
There should be no problem. Ha.
May.
May I ask, Mr. Tesla? What new experiment are you working on?
Very well. You may. Might. He might have paid me more. I think there might be evidence of life in Venus, Mars, and other planets. Must.
It must have been a great experience.
We must save her!
He would.
With me as a royal son-in-law, the kingdom would be the coolest, most relaxed place on earth.
Do I really have to get married?
Estos verbos modales tienen en común las siguientes características. Su forma no cambia. Se usan con el infinitivo sin to. Y no es necesario usar do o does para formar preguntas. Más bien se usa el mismo verbo modal. Por ejemplo, can you recycle? Could she recycle? Etcétera. Es todo por el momento con los verbos modales. Sigan sintonizando a Much Better Show.
A Much Better Show gives you now its tourist tip section.
It all started last weekend when Vilma asked me to come along with her and her aunt and uncle from Kentucky to Xochimilco.
I needed a little help from my good old friend Rudy, who is an expert in Mexico City's fascinating historical places. I love my uncle and aunt, and love it when they come to visit. But they're 80-something, so it was so much easier for me to take Rudy with me. He's a pal.
And I love Xochimilco. I just couldn't say no. Anyway, we gave the nice couple the whole Xochimilco experience. We traveled in a trajinera through its beautiful landscapes and sights.
We explained to the old folks the tradition of the chinampas, which my aunt called Mexican floating gardens.
Chinampas are artificial islands used to grow crops on Xochimilco's shallow bed lakes. Some of this ancient agricultural practice still goes on in Xochimilco.
We dedicated some of our visit to the Niñopa, one of the most important and best-known Mexican images of baby Jesus. The name Niñopa, sometimes changed to Niño Pan, is a hybrid between the Spanish niño and the Nahuatl pan place.
For the last 4 centuries, the Niñopa has been housed by a Xochimilcan family, who become their godparents for 1 whole year. Legend has it that, during the night, the Niñopa takes long walks around Xochimilco, visiting the locals in their dreams, supervising their crops.
My uncle and aunt were delighted with their trajinera trip. They tried everything and stuffed themselves with the Xochimilco delicacies. Needless to say, they had a big stomach aches afterwards, but they say it was totally worthwhile.
That was our day off in Xochimilco.
Stay tuned to a much better show. Next on, more eco-friendly tips, clever actions for a healthier environment.
Giveaway! Don't trash! Next time you go through your closet and find old clothes, you don't have to discard them. Give them away to relatives, younger members of the family, or anyone who might need them. Doing the laundry. Use cold water in your washing machine and try operating only with full loads. Stay with us at the Much Better Show. It's time for some more grammar with Jeff Gonzalez.
Nuevamente, esto es nuestro flash informativo. Seguimos hablando de los verbos modales. Estos nos ayudan a expresar prohibición, opinión, consejos, etc. Conoceremos ahora su forma negativa. Can, cannot. Could, could not. Should, should not. Might, might not. Must, must not. Would, would not. Ahora bien, esta es la forma negativa formal. Solo se utiliza cuando escribimos algo de manera oficial y elegante. En el habla cotidiana casi siempre usamos la forma contraída. Can't, couldn't, shouldn't, mustn't, wouldn't. Veamos ahora dos excepciones. Tenemos el caso del modal have to. Para su negativo, no usamos una contracción como en los otros modales, sino que usamos don't. Ejemplo. You don't have to discard them. La segunda excepción que veremos es con el modal might. No tiene contracción. Su negativo es simplemente might not. You might not get into the royal hall. Quédate en A Much Better Show y espera la última sección de nuestro flash informativo. ¡Nos vemos!
We present to you the second and last chapter of The Three Magic Presents.
Oh, daughter, I swear I'd give up all the oil in our kingdom just to save your life from this horrible disease.
I know, Daddy, I know. Oh, my 3 suitors.
Boys, I think you've arrived a bit too late.
No, there's still time. Drink, beautiful princess. Sip some of this vial.
I feel so much better, like brand new. Thank you, my savior.
Whoa, ho, ho, ho. I'm her savior. Had I not seen her illness through my magic ball, we wouldn't be here.
No, I am the savior. Had we not traveled on my carpet, we wouldn't have been here on time.
But what about me? I put the medicine.
No, I'm her savior. That's his medicine. This is just a carpet. Give it to me.
Give it.
Silence! We have to settle this question. But who can solve this trilemma?
Worried to death about who his daughter should marry, the king summoned his top advisors for advice. To be suggested, he called a very old wise man to settle the problem.
Hail, O king! I know what's worrying you. You want to solve this problem and choose one of the suitors. Each has supposedly equal claim to her hand, right? But when happiness is at stake, wouldn't it be fair to ask your daughter who she'd rather marry?
Boys, I'll always be grateful with you. You 3 saved my life. You're so sweet. But Daddy, I must say this guy, and this guy only, understood that this was my choice. Mine only. So I chose him.
But he is so old.
Not anymore. Let's get married right now.
The 3 suitors were sad for a while, but later on, with a little help of the country's gifts they found in their travels, they got themselves 3 nice girlfriends. This was a free adaptation of Elaine Lindy's retelling of this wonderful Arabian story, in A Much Better Show.
Hagamos un rápido repaso de lo que vimos en este programa. Conocimos los verbos modales. Can, could, should, may, must, would y might. Aprendimos que son fáciles de usar, pues su forma no cambia. I can choose whoever I want to marry. You may fly in my magic carpet. They must get new girlfriends.
no usan do para formar la estructura de la pregunta, sino que el mismo verbo modal cambia de lugar. Could you answer the phone? Would you pass me the gravy? Should I stay or should I go? Para formar el negativo, se usa la forma contraída para el habla y la escritura cotidianas, salvo en el caso de might y have to. I can't dance. I couldn't sleep. I shouldn't smoke. I mustn't skip school. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I have to get up early if I want to catch the bus. I might not stay awake all night. Bueno, muchachos, eso fue todo por hoy. Gracias por sintonizar a Much Better Show. Me despido en nombre de mis compañeros Vilma, Rudy y Miranda, así como de todo el equipo de producción.
I had a dream in a perfect world, and it was there in a much better show. And so there were many VIPs. I think I was an important one, but all of them speak another tongue. I couldn't understand any single word. I think I was an important woman. I couldn't understand nothing at all.